Bonjour. This lesson is on les prépositions with the body parts, and this is specifically used, these prepositions are specifically used when you have to say where something is hurting. So if you were going to say, my head hurts, for example, you would use the phrase j'ai mal à la tête. And so we're using the verb avoir here, and then saying mal à. And we have to add that to a body part right here. So we're conjugating avoir, and then we're adding it to a body part. And as we've learned, hopefully you learned on a previous lesson on the prepositions, a and an article like le, la, and les often make contractions. So that's what this lesson is going to be on. So let's get started with the feminine. So a and la next to each other, as we've seen here, and la, they do not have to change. So when you have la tête, the feminine word, it stays the same. A and la will be a la, so no need to worry about that. The next thing we'll cover is masculine words. Masculine words begin with a and le, but you cannot write a and le next to each other. Say you had your arm hurt, so you said le bras. You cannot say a le bras here. You would have to change that to o. So again, this would be incorrect. We do not want to see that. Okay, we do not want to see a and le next to each other. All right, moving on to if something is plural, say your eyes hurt or your ears hurt, then the next word would begin with les. And if a is next to les, you have to change that to o. Sounds just like this, except we add in an X to it. And finally, if that word begins with a vowel, like if you're talking about an ear, for example, one ear, then you would use the L apostrophe, and that it does not have to change. Now again, this should be review. You should already know that this and this work the way they do, that you have to make a contraction when on, the, or next to each other, and that you do not have to worry about that contraction for the feminine and for the vowel. This should be review, old hat. If it's not, you need to really memorize this, because this will reappear several times. So now let's go and apply this to some different examples here. Now I want you to go in this order of questions. First thing you want to do is ask yourself if it's plural. Why should you ask yourself if it's plural first? All right, I'm going to answer that question. You should ask yourself if it is plural first, because that'll save you one big headache. There's absolutely no reason to ask yourself if it's feminine or masculine. Because if it's plural, you are always going to use this. Even if it's feminine or masculine, you don't have to worry about it. Just skip right to that. Why didn't you ask yourself if it's a vowel? Well, if it's plural and starts with a vowel, you are still using that. So please go in this order. It'll save you a big headache. So we know this is plural right here. We cannot put a next to les, so we see a and les next to each other. Oh, can't do that. We have to do the word o. Again, right here. O. Au genou. So if your knees were hurting, you would say j'ai mal au genou. And let's go to this one. Is it plural? Yes. All right, stop right there. Aux oreilles. you'll notice that it begins with a vowel, but it's plural, and that's like your trump card if you play cards, and then you should know that there's the jack, the queen, and the king, and the king is always going to beat the queen or the jack, right? Well, this is kind of like our trump. If it's plural, then you don't have to worry about if it's a vowel or if it's feminine or masculine. Right, let's move on. L'œil. Is that plural? Nope. Is it a word that starts with a vowel? Yes. So again, you don't have to worry about whether it's feminine or masculine. It's pretty difficult to memorize that. You do have to, but it's tricky. So try to save yourself some stress and just go in this order. So, plural, no. Vowel, yes. If it's a vowel, we know we have to use this rule. So, l'œil. And yes, I do want you to write the O and the E squished next to each other. They're best buds, so they always like to hang out close like that. Please don't try to separate them. Let's move on. La tête. Hopefully you know that the word for head is feminine. This you cannot skip. You can't skip over because it's not plural. It doesn't start with a vowel, so you do have to know if it's feminine or masculine. But luckily for you, there's no special change for that. And finally, we have le bras, the arm. I know you'll be tempted to write le, but you cannot do that. That's the whole point of this lesson. And le change to o. So, we have our phrase, j'ai mal. You're telling where something hurts. J'ai mal. Au genou would be my knees hurt. J'ai mal aux oreilles. My ears hurt. J'ai mal à l'œil. My eye hurts. J'ai mal à la tête. My head hurts. Or I have a headache, you could say. And j'ai mal au bras. My arm hurts. I hope that has helped. Again, spend some time, memorize these math equations.